Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Litchfield County Sports Program. I think I'm one of the Blues Brothers at this point tonight, Mr. Wilson. I don't even know. I can't do that dance like Jake used to. Well, I'd love to be John Belushi, just flipping over here. Why don't you wear sunglasses at night, right? There's all kinds of songs about it. We would break in the song, but it would embarrass to be Jesus out of our guests who would leave in a very big hurry. Welcome to fall. Nice win by the Giants last night. How about those Mets? We are decorated again in celebration of the New York Metropolitans, and the Chase Utley Memorial is being held tonight as we speak at Citi Field, where I'm sure when they do those intros on the sidelines, he's not going to tip his cap. He's just going to go stand behind someone very quickly.
Yeah, he might want to stay in the dugout tonight. As who was I listening to this afternoon said, I think it was Joe D who said the Mets fans ought to be well juiced by 8 o'clock.
Yes, I heard that. Yeah.
I think it was Joe. So
the late games will do that. You know, it's just fun for us to still be talking about the Mets. Sometimes you and I are still talking about the Orioles over the years, but for the Mets,
a couple of years, we have been talking about the Orioles for a while.
We're not talking about the Yankees, so we're pretty happy about that anyway. You know, so we probably have some Yankee fans in the building. Sorry, everybody, but when it's our glory and me and John Bongiorno are the token Met fans, we're pretty happy about everything. Thanks to the fine folks here at Cable 5 for hosting us, Doug Harold and John Bongiorno behind the glass tonight. We can actually say behind the glass, and it means something now, Mr. Wilson, huh?
Yeah,
we used to say that all the time.
What are all those hand signals they're giving us?
I'm not sure. They're split in the middle on a couple of them. I'm not sure if that's a good sign for us.
A lot of fingers going up and down back there.
I want to thank the fine folks, Simply Seafood and also Berkshire Pizza for hosting this program tonight. And, you know, tonight's going to be a lot about one of the things we love doing is talking University of Connecticut sports. And we've got two of the best in the house as the camera magically pans back. I said the camera magically pans back. There it is. Well, that's one. To my left is Debbie Fiske, one half of the radio voice of the UConn Huskies, women's. Good evening, Debbie. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Excited to be
How
here.
easy is this, right? We're just talking sports with friends.
That sounds good. I was a little nervous at first, but I'm seeing how you're doing it. I like it.
Nice and easy. Lots of improv. And to my right, he is so good. Did you see him? It's Bob Joyce, who is now going to give us play-by-play. He's going to make it up for about 10 seconds. Go, Bob.
No, I'm not.
He's not. He was so on right as we went on the air. He was right there.
I don't think it's playable.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. He's
Oh,
here.
Matt Harvey just gave up another one.
We will have some scores. We got about 20 minutes or so before the Mets start.
If you see the sweat coming off of Tim's brow, you know the Mets are in trouble.
Yeah. You know, it's 1-1. You got the game on the road. You probably have to win tonight. Harvey, if it's anything like it was a month ago when he was under pressure, he didn't do so well.
Matt's got to earn his money tonight.
No, there's no question.
No question.
I mean, and Boris has opened his mouth the other day again. You know what I mean? Just talking. Anytime he continues to talk about this kid and his contract and his inning, he just makes him look stupid.
Right.
He makes him look like what we don't like about sports, which is it's about me, and then he's late. He's late for practice.
He had a bonehead moment, yes.
One thing. You're in charge of one thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this time of the year, it's not like the Mets are in the postseason all the time and you forget about it. You had one job, and that was to get to practice. And first you got stuck in practice, and then things got away from you.
But wait, we're talking about practice.
Practice?
Practice? Who needs practice?
Taking us back to another day. So, well, let's start with you, Bob. How fun is your job with the UConn Huskies, both basketball, football? What else do you do with the Huskies? Just tell our audience.
Well, host pre, half, and post for football with Casey Cochran this year. So we give Joe Wayne and Kevin a break. And then play-by-play with the UConn women with my radio wife over there, Debbie. This will be her fourth year as my broadcast partner. We're actually going to do some hockey this year. We're going to air it's not official yet. We're going to air, I think, 8 to 10 games this year on TIC through the IMG Sports Network. And I'm up at 3 in the morning, getting ready to head to Farmington and do sports at WTIC every morning.
Just a couple minutes from now,
while I babysit the Rayman and Jim Weiss for tomorrow morning.
The new Chuck Caton of Connecticut.
Just doing everything at all times.
Chuck Caton.
Going back.
Cecil.
The Ice Bus was huge last year.
It was.
UConn hockey. I mean, that was really taken off.
Yeah, it has, and it should be a lot of fun. Mike Cavanaugh is a terrific coach. They did a good job in hiring, and that was a good hire by Ward Manuel. And they're headed in the right direction. They've got a fabulous group of freshmen, including a young man from Russia who had a hat trick in his first game.
Okay.
Last Friday night against Alabama Huntsville. Their first home game will be against Arizona State, and then the next home game will be Boston University on the 27th of October.
Dream job? what you always wanted to do? Similar? Didn't know it was going to be UConn, but you wanted to be...
I think I wanted to do hockey. I did some Springfield Falcons hockey, AHL up in Springfield on TV for a few years, late 90s, early 2000 when the Whalers were still here, and then it was Tampa Bay and Phoenix for their farm system. So I got to see some decent guys. Danny Briere played up in Springfield, had a good long career with the Canadians and the Flyers and the Coyotes. I don't know, I may have forgotten a team or two. Shane Doan, who was the captain for the Coyotes for a long time, got to see him play. Got to see Manny Legacy when he was still when they were still Whaler farm hands.
Okay.
I watched him grow up a little bit. I'm trying to think of anybody else significant.
How hard is hockey to do play-by-play? Is it the hardest of all you do?
On radio, yes. Just because of the pace of the game. Yeah, and they change on the fly and that, but it's a ton of fun. TV's a little easier because you have the picture medium there, but had the fortune of working with 10 years with Chuck Caton, best radio play-by-play man in the business on doing hockey. Still does a lot of games on his own and doesn't need a color analyst. But having hung around him for 10 years, you learn a lot. And it's just awesome to do.
And the overall, picture of doing all these different things for UConn, I mean, how fun is it? You were telling us beforehand, some of that beginning of the game and middle of the game and end of the game is not done from some executive studios. It's done from executive studios at the Joyce House.
Well, with technology, yes. For football, yes. Road games, Casey Cochran and I are in my den. With the technology you have nowadays, if you have internet, you can get on the air with a good quality line, and sounds like we're in a studio. I'm in front of my desk with my laptop. To the left of me is our big screen TV, and then a little farther left is the couch, and Casey hangs out on the couch eating Cheez-Its all night.
Does Casey get a meal?
Yes.
Joyce restaurant?
Spaghetti and meatballs this past Saturday. First week for the Missouri game, it was stew. And then we had the late night game at BYU, so Mrs. Joyce broke out the brownies.
Wow. And we were talking about Casey beforehand. I mean, obviously a heartbreaking situation for him. Last year, everybody felt for him, but he has really stepped into this role, I think. Well, he has a little youthful sense of humor in some cases.
He does. Very, very bright young man through football. It's sad what he went through, but Joe and Kevin got the sense he might be pretty good when he interned over at NBC Connecticut. Casey did the spring game up in the booth with Joe, and that's when we thought, hey, you know what? We should add him to the broadcast team, and he's been terrific. He's already done a game on the sidelines filling in for Kevin. He did the Navy game, but he's been great on the pre-half and post game, giving us the inside analytics, the X's and O's that folks like me can't deliver.
Well, like most of us, I think that in some cases we'd be down on the sidelines and we'd be listening to him, and he would know something that didn't happen on a play. Somebody didn't pull, somebody didn't, and the regular person watching it doesn't know that. It looked as if quarterback just forgot where to go, but Casey knows because he ran that play.
Right.
Whatever it was, he knows. What should have happened. And I loved the other day he was very concerned about Kevin Nathan about hydrating correctly, something about a concussion. So he was concerned. And
he was.
You know what?
He was.
Sometimes I think you got to add a little spice like you guys do sometimes in there, a little bit more of the, not just, I think on the corporate level, way up, NBC and all the rest, you have to be so straight-laced.
It's like the Ursillo and Remy show.
Sense of humor.
It's like the Ursillo and Remy show we won't see anymore on Nesson.
Right.
Which is another topic.
Well,
that
is true, yeah.
But Casey's been a really nice fit. One thing he's brought up, in fact, we even talked about this, the 53-yard pass play to Arkell Newsome the other day, the wheel route, the same route that they had a touchdown with at BYU. He says they run that particular play, not necessarily throwing it to Arkell, but they run that particular play 3 or 4 times a game to see if that's going to be available, and later during the course of a game, if it's open, they'll hit it.
Sure.
Yeah.
And for us, Rick and I covered. Now, we always had the debate on Arkell, because we called him Arkell for 5 or 6 years when he was in high school. It changed when he got to college.
I guess.
I'm not sure. Anyway,
Except I asked Kyle Brennan about this, who writes with the Waterbury Republican and went to school down in that area. We always called him Arkell. He says it was supposed to be Arkell in high school. So I guess we were wrong the whole time.
Okay.
Arkell is so soft-spoken, he's not going to say anything to you anyways.
Right,
For sure.
It was always fun for us we never knew whether what he did in Ansonia, which was never get tackled, translate when he went to school. Now, the poor kid last year, the first couple of times he gets the ball on the kickoff return, boom, he got hit harder at the 20 than he got in his entire career at Ansonia. But we saw a couple times last year where he would get into the open field and he had that speed, which we weren't sure if he had. You knew he could get away from high school kids. We didn't know if he could get away from Division I kids, and he can.
He was disappointed that he didn't take the kickoff return to start the second half all the way back for a touchdown. But after seeing the replay, because I really didn't look at it on TV this past game against University of Central Florida. But the guy who tackled him had a pretty good angle on him. That's why he got stopped. But afterwards,
more last year, the poor kid was just getting blown
right.
I mean, it was
welcome to the big time. Welcome to big boy football.
This isn't the 180-pound defensive end from Kennedy,
not.
right?
And we're going to go back local for a minute, Rick, you and I, with the Torrington High School Red Raiders. I mean, 5-0 going into this week against Wolcott, and then Ansonia the week after that. They win one of those two games, they probably are in the state tournament.
Well, I had said to you at the beginning of the season, to really figure out how good this team was, they had to be, certainly they had to beat somebody of consequence. They really handed it to Naugatuck, which opened up some eyes. And now I really think you see they've got Wolcott coming up, and then they've got Ansonia coming up. Right. So we're going to see, And even if they split those games, this is, without question, going to be their best year since.
Well, 1984 was the last time they were 5-0. The last time they did anything with the states was far long ago, before we ever had the state tournament set up as we have now. But for us, it's been really nice just to follow, these kids. We had Coach Rodriguez on last weekend, and we'll talk about last week's show, the show that we had with Gaetan Rodriguez and Rich Romanchek from the Torrington Warriors for a minute, and then we're going to get back to UConn. About 21 minutes into the show last week, when you watched it on Cable 5, you were not nuts. It all of a sudden switched to some guy who was having some type of award ceremony, and he was giving the secretary a nice honor. It looked like a Lions Club thing or something like that. The computer somehow just picked something randomly. Now, my phone rang a lot, which is good news. That means people were watching, because they wondered how you and I changed so quickly. And we're suddenly giving out awards. But it was just a little bit of a glitch. But Coach did a good job that day anyway.
Oh, he did a great job. I thought the whole thing was a protest that Billy Neller hadn't been here, but Billy just walked in.
Billy is in the building,
ago,
so the night just got better.
So hopefully you'll see the whole thing tonight.
We'll see. What happens. But our good friend Mike McKenna at Torrington is so thrilled, because 5-0 means a packed house on Friday and a packed house next Friday. Because if they beat Wolcott and you go in 6-0 against Ansonia, who will be 5-0 because they already had their bye. That is the kind of packed house you want. You don't go into Ansonia anticipating that that's going to be any kind of easy win, but, Lord, at least to be in the position to do so.
Well, not just here, but in the state, Ansonia is the litmus test for a lot of teams. When, Newtown last year, when they broke the streak, 14-8 down there, and this is not a vintage Ansonian team. They're giving up more points. They're young, but they're Ansonia. They're also winning every game. So, we'll see what happens here, and we'll see where Torrington, faces up with Bagley and some of the other runners they got down there.
Absolutely. So, was Debbie Fiske a good point guard?
I've heard. Debbie Fiske was top notch.
She was quiet. She didn't shoot the three much.
Talk about your time on the court first with us, Debbie.
UConn time.
Yeah.
It was 4 great years, a lot of fun and quite different. Interesting when you talk about the high school players on the football field, going from high school to college, and the pace of the game that just really picks up. And my experience coming from high school, in that first week of practice, I remember thinking, it took 2 weeks to cover what we did in one practice. It was just amazing how the pace of even drills and the competition.
Where did you go to high school?
Red Lion, Pennsylvania.
Red
Lion area. So southern Pennsylvania, and small.
Is that where the Little League team was from this year?
It was.
Red Lion.
Wow. Yes.
Pennsylvania Little League team, yeah.
Yeah. So, nobody ever heard of it before.
Gino come to your house?
He did. He and Chris Daly.
No kidding.
They did, and it's funny, I actually played field hockey in high school as well, and at the time they came to watch field hocky as well. It's one of those things where they would come and visit, and I love the game. It's fun to play, but as a spectator, not too many people. No, I had some opportunities for field hockey, which I never thought was on my radar, but basketball is what I wanted to do. And when you say come into the house, it was Chris Daly pretty much wrapped, my father around her finger. And my mom thought, Gino Auriemma's kind of a handsome fella. I think you should play it, go for him.
Gino turned it on the Italian.
You know what? Yeah, they divide and conquer very well. And my parents made, they wanted it to be my choice, so they didn't let me know. But I had a pretty good idea where they would like to see me go.
It was your choice.
Yeah, my choice. Yeah.
On the Final Four team, right?
Yes.
With Kerry Bascom and that.
Yes.
What was that like? Because that was really kind of the beginning of the whole thing there. What was that like?
at the time, you didn't know any better. It was, you just went along. It was, first for everything, so everything was exciting. For us, it was the first time, ESPN cameras are following you. They're coming into the hotels, even local news, that everybody was on following, and we were excited about it and fine. It's not the norm as it is now. Now they're with you everywhere, and you have to know where you're going. But for us, it was a lot of fun. And when we were being recruited by Gino, his thing was that he was telling you, we're going to win a Big East championship. We're going to go to the Final Four. All these things he promised. And I was, at the time, I honestly don't think we understood. I was like, okay.
Sure. Yeah.
All right, sounds good. You tell us what to do, we will follow. And I think that was what was great about our team, because we all had that hard work ethic. It's kind of almost like a blue collar set of mentality, and we each had a role. It wasn't that we were all superstars. Carrie Bascom was our All-American, but each had a role, and if you did that to your best as a team, we were pretty impressive to watch. Looking at us, you didn't look impressive, but as a unit, we did really well.
Your big rivals back then, was that where the start of Tennessee came through?
No. As funny as that, when I was being recruited at the time, it was Villanova was the top. Like, UConn hadn't beaten Villanova. Providence was at the top of the Big East, and when the first time our freshman year, we beat Villanova on the home floor, and it was like a 3-pointer by Heidi Robbins at the buzzer, and everybody runs out there, and Chris Daly was one of the things. She's like, she did this dance in the locker room. If you beat Villanova, I will do this. So, of course, back in the locker room, we couldn't wait to see CD up there doing this little chant. I can't remember exactly what the words were at the time, but it was little things like that, because they hadn't done that. And we went through, I think, we had 14-2 or something. I think it was games that we didn't really, lose, but there was some kind of glitch that we had a scrimmage ahead of time, or that was supposed to count as a game, and a played game and different things. But that first year, we win a Big East title, and it was just like, okay, well, that's what we're supposed to do. We didn't know that it was some, big deal.
Was Tracy Liss at Providence during those years?
She was. So she was a freshman. She was the same recruiting class as I was. I came in as freshman. She was at Providence. And
she went to Killingly High School and scored about 3,600 points or so. It was something off the charts and off the wall.
Well, and it's amazing. So I didn't actually, I was recruited by Providence as well, and I met Tracy Liss for the first time while at Providence. And I didn't really, from Pennsylvania, I had no idea who this 2,000-plus point scorer was from Connecticut. So it was very unknown territory to me. But I heard about her quickly when you come to Connecticut, just because she was, one of the top players in Connecticut at that time.
Excellent. Wait. It must be time to pick a random topic out of the container, because that's what Billy Neller suggested. Mr. Joyce? Pick
Survey
one,
says.
and we must conversate about what it says.
All right. Scariest moment on air.
Yeah, you got to have a couple of those, brother. Now, you got a long career.
What goes on technically?
Well,
like when the phone lines don't work?
Stuff like that,
Like,
I'm sure.
Bridgeport last year?
I can remember that one.
when our two broadcast lines didn't work, we scrambled up from courtside to the hockey press box at Harbor Yard, and the phones weren't really working too well with our little unit based on signal strength, so we ended up doing the game on a cell phone.
How much time in between? Or was it pregame that you figured it out? And then
No, it was pregame when we were setting up.
Okay.
There was an issue, and they didn't know what the heck was wrong, and with the help of Pat and McKenna, we're schlepping all our gear up top, and yeah, it was an adventure, but Debbie told me afterwards, she goes, "You were amazingly calm through the whole thing."
Got it done, didn't he? Huh?
Did
Yeah,
get it
take
done.
a deep breath, and hey, it is what it is.
Yeah.
When you first came on, to the scene, you're going into your 4th year now, right?
Yeah, yes.
What was it like that first year? How did you feel first starting to do it?
I was nervous because, yes, everybody's like, oh, basketball, Gino, the team. I know all of that, but this radio thing, quite different. And
Right.
I was more concerned, Bob saying, okay, by half court, you got to get in and out. And as much as Gino said I didn't talk in those early days, I can talk a lot now. So trying to be concise and finding those right feeds.
And talk about that a little bit more with how you guys do that. Because you're doing play-by-play and you're doing color, right? So is there a particular timing that's already set up, or do you guys have just learned
It's just kind of feel. It's just feel. Yeah, I mean, radio's a lot different than TV. I mean, you hear the analysts talk over the play-by-play on TV because you have the game right there.
Right.
Radio is different. You're painting the picture for the listener. And, at the same time, you have to try to get Debbie in, too. She usually does it right after a basket if I'm not in a flow of things. One thing I like to do, especially like on a three-pointer or amazing play, let the crowd, stretch it out a little bit. Give the sense that the fans are going wild a little bit, and then I'll bounce back in. And that's sometimes we step on each other's toes once in a while. But more or less, it's just the flow of the game, how it's going, and Debbie gets her 2 cents in. And I tell her a lot depends on the pace of the game. If it's up and down the floor, you don't have a whole lot of time to say anything.
Right.
Whereas if it's slow, like if they play Villanova, where they stay in the backcourt forever before the shot clock, yes, you have time to get thoughts in. But usually when the ball goes out of bounds, you give time, score, and let them do their thing. In her case, Debbie.
50-point games. 50-point blocks.
Easier for me than her. And it's easier for us because it's radio as opposed to TV.
Right.
Now, why is that?
Well, because they have so much time to fill because
TV-wise.
The TV-wise is right in front
Yours
of you. Mine doesn't change because I'm still doing the game. Now, granted, it's 74-9 at SMU last year. And we get the breaks and Debbie and I are looking going, like, yeah, well, I guess
what's for dinner tonight?
And what's hard is because there are games, they are crisp and clear, and when you're really evaluating that, there's not much more you can say. You know what? They missed the screen. They can come off, right. That they kind of faded away on the defense. Didn't really step up. Well, they're doing everything right. They're getting fast break after fast break.
Right.
So not a lot to critique at that point.
And we're always amazed sometimes when after 8 minutes they're up by 15 and Gino's pulling his hair out, going nuts, throwing clipboards and the rest of it, and they've just annihilated somebody.
Right.
Did that take a little while to get used to? But obviously you're used to it from playing for them, so you knew that was there.
Yeah.
So what the average fan sees, because there's 2 camps, and we have one in our company. Pat Sister loves the men's game, hates the women's game. I love both, right? There is those different factions. That I can only watch the men's game. How can you cover something that's 50 points? Well, that's a skill level there. Like, did we love, Bob Gibson and Sandy Koufax when they no-hit everybody?
Sure,
yeah, if he was on your team, you did.
Sure.
So with the UConn women, it's all about building up. I mean, right now everybody's making plans for Indianapolis, but a lot still has to happen between now and April.
You can't take anything for granted, and I think what's great about what Gino and the whole staff does for UConn, it's a beautiful product they put together. They don't want to see you get sloppy. It's a 50-point game. You can kind of take off this play. Not allowed.
Right.
And he wants that because he's looking for that one game. He's prepared that down the road, whether it's Notre Dame or it's Maryland or someone, that lazy play that you just played, that because you're letting it be a habit.
Yep.
It's not. We're not a light switch turning it off and on. I want it 100% of the time.
Yeah, everything is designed to get ready for March.
But that's why they're here.
That's why they're here, and everybody else is.
There's beauty in their brilliance,
sure.
and sometimes you got to throw. Sometimes you got to throw the score out and just.
And I think that's what I like too. Like, he's always. You've heard him say this before, but he's teaching players that it's a great product. That no matter what the score is, you should come out because this is what you want to teach. Whether it's the young player or the older fan or wherever it is, he's telling them that. It's a one-time. This may be the only time they ever come to see you play.
Right.
So put it out there as it's the only time they ever came to see you play. Not just to say, oh, you know what, today's a bad day. Come back another time.
Right. Yeah.
I'll use that as an example. The Texas game last year in the NCAA tournament in Albany.
Yes.
They blitzed Texas, but they played great. It was about as much fun as we had. One thing that I always take out of it, regardless what the score is, if they're playing really well, it doesn't matter what the score is.
Right.
It's only when the game's like it gets into a slow, dull drag, or both teams are not playing well. That's when it gets a little tough to blow out. But if they're playing really well, it's enjoyable to watch because they play at such a high level.
Right.
For somebody that played with Gino and what you do, and there's a bunch of you guys out there. There's Kara and Megan and Rebecca, all former UConn players that are playing. Does that make what you do easier or harder? Is he tougher on you guys? Does it make it better because I know from what you do, you can bring in the expertise of playing, but how is he to deal with?
Great. You know what? He's awesome.
He loves
I think
Debbie.
he's like, you know what? I have to say, he'll be there if you're down. He's the same guy. Like when we're all together, like he will kill us. He'll become like, yeah, well, you turn, well, actually, he's always good about me turn the ball over, but about my shooting, I was like, hey, you didn't let me have any shots. You told me to get it to the All-American on my right and the best three-point shooter, Wendy Davis, on my left. And I understood my role very well. But we kill each other, we do different things, but it's all in fun, and we have a really good time together. So it's one of those. But out front there, he'll do. He's just great for all of us. And people always ask about the family thing. It is true. He's been at funerals and weddings and, just the histories of all of us. He's been a part. If we need him for something, he'll be there for us.
You remember when Kalena was chasing the 3-point record last year, and they were all sitting after one game, I don't remember which one, and she was thinking she did pretty good, and he just looked at the stat sheet and he goes, 4 for 9. I'm just saying, not exactly lighting it up. And she's over there rolling her eyes, and really?
Yeah, and that's just part of his humor, and I think, and as a player, you
or
love
they
it.
come in. Is he talking about me? Is he
talking
about
they would
me?
always know when he's just like, they just won by 55, and he's like, All American over here. He had best player in talking about Stewie,
Right.
best player in the country. Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
And all of you have to learn how to. It just flows, right?
Yeah,
because you know what
absolutely.
he's doing. He's the ultimate showman. I always say that the time in the hallway after the press conference, you should charge $5 admission because
Exactly.
everybody would come down.
When he holds court,
He is
Right?
Yeah,
Well,
he's
he just goes and sits against the wall, and here comes.
And you guys saw, but even, we were talking to the other writers down there last year, and this was the greatest thing they've ever seen in their life. The guy says what's on his mind.
Right.
He's funny. He's whatever. That they were just in their glory.
Oh, he was
with him.
spectacular in Nashville.
Yeah. Was he? Yeah.
Nashville was even best. The half hour he was up on the podium after Notre Dame's press conference when he and Muffet McGraw were doing this.
Yeah.
That's about as good
Yeah.
as half hours I've ever seen him up on a podium. He
And
was
you couldn't
tremendous.
get it. Everybody was trying to get something going
Yeah.
last year, and it just wasn't happening.
Well, no.
There was
Well, it was an
nothing,
old story last
Well, I think
year.
he picks and chooses a little bit of that too. I think last year
He didn't need it.
Right,
He didn't need
exactly.
with that. It wasn't. It was 2 years ago, right? Where they were down to 7 or 8 scholarship players. I mean, it got a little dicey there with
was,
all the injuries. I mean, dicey to them is not dicey to everybody else in the country, but still, you're one injury away from having one
And
person
when he
come
looked at
off
his,
the
I only need
bench.
5. You need 5 players out there, and those 5
That's
players.
how many you're playing.
That's
40
right.
minutes. Go.
It's too bad. It's
Worry
too
about
bad
the
Bill
five you have.
Lambier doesn't coach one of his opponent's teams.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's
I'll tell you what, Bill Lambier did a great job with Kia Stokes.
Sure
he
did.
did.
Kia Stokes was perfect
I
fit
loved
for her.
Kia Stokes last year.
Yeah.
And we used to sometimes off the commercial, and he'd be saying you got to make those bunnies, and I'm like, come on, Bob, she's trying in there. I always thought.
Well, I've seen him for 4 years.
Yeah,
It's
I've
like,
seen it from
gotta
the players' perspective. I see it from the players' perspective
Yep.
a lot of times, and I know what the media says, and I'm like, she's working hard in there. So I love seeing what Kia
Pretty
has
awesome
done
when you look at this year replacing her, and who knows what they're going to get out of Brunson or whatever, but replacing her is going to be a huge task.
Sure it is.
Huge.
Sure it is. I think that's even a bigger loss than
big
Kalina
Kalina,
is.
yeah.
Absolutely, with the rebounding and the block shots.
Yeah.
That alone.
that presence inside.
Natalie Butler's going to have big shoes to fill.
Did how Kalina year went surprise you, or in Gino's
The
case?
WNBA? No.
Because of what he said going in?
Yeah.
Right? Got to be able to guard somebody?
Yep.
And they're not going to leave you open for a 3 all the
Right.
time.
Right. I think conditioning has a lot to do with it. You got to
Think
be.
she can come
it's
back?
It's got to be a whole. It's a whole different animal in the WNBA. You got to be able to create on your own.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
she
there were
has it?
times
No,
last
she doesn't have that creatability.
Okay.
Yeah,
There
she's
were
not quick
times
enough.
last year that you and I talked about it, so did other people, where it looked like she was in a little bit of Ray Allen and she was becoming just a set-up shooter. And other than that, you weren't seeing anything. Now, she kind of got out of that for a while and whatever, but...
Well, when the last 2 years when March came around, she became a decent post player. She's got some moves in the post, and she had to get to the free throw line more.
In the final, those were huge shots.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, between her and Mariah.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I think Kalina was a phenomenal college
Absolutely.
player. I mean, and she could, her teammates, they set screens, and
She was a
Gino
perfect
used
fit
it
for the system.
very well.
Yeah.
Exactly.
System
So I
player,
think she
great
has
call.
it.
Yep.
There's potential, but it has to be the right team and the right situation for her. In the
Everybody
WNBA.
ends up out on the West
also
Coast,
made it
So
right?
now
I
she could be
mean,
Stewie's
geez.
teammate next year.
That's what I'm
I
saying.
just laugh,
right?
too. You interview them in the weight room there, and she's in there one day, and we go in there with a grinder, right?
Yeah.
She goes, I'm going to get yelled at for this because CD always tells us, but I don't care. I'm hungry. I'm just going to eat.
All right. You're
What,
up,
there's
Deb.
more?
All right, let's hope
Oh,
it's
there's many more.
better be a topic.
You're up, Donald.
Okay.
Do you need your glasses, Deb?
Oh no. He printed it big enough that I'm okay.
Nice. Good.
Who takes the last shot?
Of any college game, any UConn game in their history. Who
Diana.
takes
Women
that
or
last-
men?
Men. Women, I'm sorry.
Diana.
I have to go with Diana.
That's what this
I
Yeah, it's
have
gotta
to go
be.
with Diana. Just, and you know what? I only get that because the inside just from Gino, and sometimes he'll never say it in front of, if he actually has, let's say he has, after everybody graduates, if it's, Maya Moore, he's going to say, I went Maya Moore. But if Diana's in the room, he's going to, maybe he'll still give Diana a hard time and say Maya Moore.
Yep.
But just a lot from different things he said through the years and everything. Nobody, you'd rather have the ball in their hands.
Why was that?
Clutch. She just had that
Wanted it?
confidence,
Yep.
a little bit cockiness, and I got this, coach.
She
Don't
had
worry
that
about
extra
it.
ingredient.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she did.
really
It was
did.
it was
She
it was
did.
a nice a spunk that that she could back up. Put it that way.
I mean, the one downside for Maya, as great as she was, we never had to see her in that situation where it came down to the last shot. The only time was her freshman year at DePaul. Renee missed a free throw. She came down and made one of the greatest steals I've ever seen. Had the know-it-all, the call timeout, the one they had left. Then they gave Keisha Swaney the ball, and she went coast to coast for the win. But no, you never really got to see Maya in that position because they blew everybody out. She turned out okay in the WNBA, though.
Oh, yeah, kind of did all right.
Well, it is. Diana, if you need a post-up, you got it. If you need it, whatever you need.
And I think we remember a lot of Diana's heroics, too. There's a lot of those last second.
I mean, she had to carry. I mean, she was, the last 2 years, she carried them.
Yeah, talk about a player
talk about
that
pressure.
Yep.
Everybody hop on my back and take them to the promised land.
Yeah.
How do the Sun compete?
Connecticut Sun, I mean, I went to a couple of games, this year. I mean, they didn't make out so well in the Stewie
more injuries
contest, more injuries. I mean, just changing the coach this year and the rest of it. How do they? You guys are more on the inside of...
not really with the Sun so much. I mean, I went to one game this year. I saw them play Stephanie Dolson and the Mystics. Sun played one of their better games of the season, but they got to stay healthy.
We have Umake, right?
Chide missed the whole year.
And she's back next year.
And Allison Hightower was out the whole year, too. So that's two big significant
her
losses right there.
Her personality alone, her athleticism and what she provided the team, but her personality, they need a lot of rebuilding in there. It seems like they were trying to do that this year. But if you don't have a personality like that, you're one of your best players, being in there to kind of get everybody together on the same page. Again, injuries and you need the talent, but there's some of those other ingredients that were missing, and they had so much issues with. And Donovan.
Wonder if, that's number one. I wonder number two. I wonder if Mariah's going to be around at number 4 in the draft position next year.
Looks as if maybe, huh?
Possibly.
Yeah.
You could see her, or she may end up in San Antonio, which would be great for her being near home.
I'm sure she would enjoy.
Right.
But it'd be interesting to see who they hire as the next coach. I mean, Tebow was good.
I think the coaching it probably starts from the top, and everybody nobody gives the coaches credit when they have but you need that talent and you need the right coach to put those ingredients together.
Okay. Those are the fly. Let me see. What does it say?
Uh-oh.
Debbie Fiske.
Debbie without question.
Wow, hugs
right
on
here,
TV.
He chuckled. I knew he was going to help me out. Thanks.
All right.
Best all-time guard.
Rick.
He's allowed to.
I'm glad all of you are enjoying this.
That's what you have to say. Now you can give another answer. Okay. Go on.
Now just have fun.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Yes. All-time guard that's in the building with us, I should have done that better.
This is a loaded question.
I didn't even say, you picked it.
Sue Bird.
Oh, yeah.
And, it's tough to go by. They've had plenty. I mean, you can go there, but, I think I would go with Sue. Big shots, a perfect compliment to Diana. And, if Diana wasn't there, I mean.
Tell you what. You got to start putting Mariah in that category.
Yeah. You know what? Last year, I agree.
Yeah.
And I'll but you're right.
Yeah, I think you have to, especially if they go 4 for 4. You have to.
I was going to say 3 for 3 in championships.
Why did
that fourth one?
Actual name. First thing Pam Weber, but but I just remember Pam.
Yes, yeah.
Well, I remember somebody yelling at the
remembers
first
the blonde.
title. Marry me, will you? And so, will you marry me? And then. Why does Amy Duran's name stick out in my head?
Good shooter,
Good shooter.
She's right around the turn.
There's certainly in our own kid from down in the valley.
Well, that's always
Maria.
Yes,
Maria
yeah.
Right.
Maria never came, I think, 1 turnover in 2 national championship games. Yeah, she was just
That's
steady Eddie.
Big player.
She really.
Not how many, it's when. That's all she ever did.
She had a couple
Get 'em
moves
when they
last year
count.
that were stunning. Little drop backs or little jukes one way or the other. And
Right.
Now, Rick and I always had a question on where the heck Tierney Lawler came from because, we covered Torrington High School the entire time she was at Ansonia, and we never saw her. It was never like, oh.
So did you find out?
Well, no, here's the thing about Tierney.
She apparently made the impression on the coaches at a shoot-around at one point.
But she wasn't even their best player in Ansonia that year.
2
They
or
lost
3
in
down.
the semifinals of the NVL.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And I'm jealous. Now she's got 2 national championships.
That's right.
She stands there and
she can make threes.
She hit a 3 at Madison Square Garden.
She gets a 4.0.
4.0.
Yep.
She wants to be a veterinarian, or at least she did.
What were some of you said there were some better players from there. Did they go on to play at college somewhere?
No, and I'm trying to think, and I should remember the kid that was all league ahead of her. I mean, Maria was pretty good. I mean, I don't mean to say, but I think in the NVL semi she only had 8 points. I mean, it just wasn't somebody.
Well, you said, this kid going to UConn someday.
There were other players in the area that were certainly better, and yet she took it upon herself to go in and say, I want to make this team. And
she's a great teammate.
She's
they
obviously,
love her.
I'm told that Gino loves her, and she does everything you ask. And
those are the kids that you want in your program and you want to take along for a ride because they're going to work hard. And I remember, I think it was one of the shoot-arounds, we were on the road, and who was he? It was one of the freshmen trying to teach just a simple what he wanted on an up fake, dribble drive, to the basket, like 2 dribbles, pull up, jump shot. And wouldn't do it. So he's like, Tierney, go show me how it's done. Bam, does it. And he's like, that was his answer. He's like, that's what I love about this kid.
Look at what
exactly
this kid's
what
experienced in 2 years.
Sure.
I mean, you can't. I mean, it's unbelievable, and she's got 2 left. So
and Brianna Polito too.
Yeah, Brianna.
Well, Rick had a great experience when we started to get used to college exposure to kids versus high school on the streets of New York after a game 2 years ago at Madison Square Garden, right?
Well, Roger Cleveland, who writes for the Waterbury Republican, and Tierney hit the 3-pointer. Yeah. We both wanted to just ask her, what was it like playing in Madison Square Garden? What was it like hitting a 3? They didn't bring her out after the game. Bus was gone, so okay. We're walking down the street from the Garden, and there's Tierney with her parents. So I just went up to her, and I think she might have recognized the face, but I didn't know her real well because I didn't. Her team was like 4th place in the NVL or something. And I said to her, Tierney, can I ask you a couple of questions? And she got this frightened look on her face. She goes, I don't know if I can talk to you in that.
They are trained well.
You didn't have permission from the coaches.
So she was
or anything
thinking,
like
okay,
that.
I've been taught.
Oh, yeah. So I just said, yeah, you're right. And it's not very professional of me to come up to you on the street and ask you. But I got one quote from her and left. But that was kind of, when you spend most of your time doing high school, you're used to walking up to a kid after the game. And that's it. It's such a different experience than...
Well, it's a beast now with UConn. I mean, victims of their own success because back in my day, it was, a little bit different. It was a little bit, easier to access.
Yeah, what was it
players.
like when the backboards were made out of wood?
Hey now.
Bingo!
Wasn't that
bad?
She was buying dinner. Playing in the field house.
We were our first year.
Little
year in the field house, right?
Freshman year was the
made out of
first
peach,
house.
peach
That's
bat.
right. Yeah. All right, Roberto.
And I'm older than she is, and I'm bringing that up.
I'm going to kill him on that one. There you go.
Woo!
Definitely.
Hey, I wanted to look at the schedule a little bit.
They're playing games this year. That's
for
right.
everyone. It's not just going to be preseason and stuff.
Soon enough.
But a couple of big ones right off the bat. I mean, December 5th at Campbell is going to be rocking, right? No
Yes.
Rocking. Yeah, the Irish will be in town.
My goodness, that'll
They'll
be
be
fun.
different though. No
Very
Drew Lloyd this
different.
It was
very different.
When she went. I was so disappointed. We went.
Well, so was Muffin. Let me tell you.
Well, when she was talking, and then she's saying, I got 3 All-Americans coming in next year, and I got Jewel Lloyd. This was down at the Final Four.
Yeah.
And then what was it? 5 days later,
Not even. It was the night of.
So yeah,
Not
was
even
it the night
game. It was in the
You're
hotel.
right.
Yeah.
Maybe it was the night of.
Oh,
I
wow,
thought it
I
was a
didn't
couple
realize
days
that. I
later,
thought it was a
but
couple days
it
later,
was
too.
close. So
any of those earlier games in Ohio State, at Kansas State,
Ohio
Nebraska,
State might be interesting only because it's on the road, a place they've never played before, and I'm sure there'll be a decent crowd there for that. But not really.
Florida State up at Uncasville.
No, they kill ACC teams.
Okay.
Yes.
LSU.
obviously,
Quick trivia: who's the last ACC team to beat UConn?
Go ahead.
Quick. Anybody?
Virginia.
North Carolina.
North Carolina.
2008. No,
you've asked me that one before. That's the only. I knew it because you've asked it for me.
They won like high 20s in a row against ACC teams.
Well, yeah.
All right, so Maryland on the 28th is going to be a nice one, Christmas week. Christmas to New
Let me
Year's
stop
week.
there for a minute, because obviously it's a big subject of conversation in Connecticut.
What?
Kia Gillespie, Capital Prep,
Yep.
went to Maryland.
Yep.
Any interest from UConn's part?
I don't think so. Just don't think. I mean, he goes for a certain fit,
Correct.
Yeah.
and I don't think he was a good fit.
Okay.
That's the best way to say it.
Yeah, that is a good way to.
It's kind of ironic. They bring up a kid from Maryland. I think the Collier kid's from Maryland.
Okay.
And he is down there.
Yeah.
And that should be, a good game back to taking us back to when we were in
You would
Florida.
think.
But
and Maryland's best player transferred.
That's true.
Dee Brown's daughter
Right.
transferred.
You'd think when you look at the Final Four, you're thinking, okay, pretty much the same four
transferred
teams
to Duke,
back.
as a matter of
However, Maryland, Notre Dame, missing key ingredients
Yeah.
from those
Yeah.
teams.
So
So
who's
they
going
are
to be
not
the
a sure
team that
thing.
does any surprising this year?
Well, South Carolina's not going to creep up on anybody.
Right.
No.
I
You're
mean, that
looking-
size even picked them as their
Well, I was
preseason
down-
You're
number
looking
one.
at
Oh,
UConn,
yeah.
South
I
Carolina.
was down
okay.
at Myrtle Beach, and we were in having a libation.
I like Myrtle Beach.
I like the
Vacation.
libation.
Oh,
No, but
Sarsaparilla?
the bartender was from South Carolina and flat out told me South Carolina is going to win the national title this year. I turned around to him. I said they need somebody that can shoot further than 10 feet out.
Yeah.
That
okay.
was a huge. I mean, they had the bigs
They
inside.
felt like that last year too. They
Yeah.
thought it was their year last
Well,
year.
they didn't
Well-
get the shot off in the last 20
Yeah.
seconds.
Well,
She
because
dribbled
everybody knew
around.
Tiffany Mitchell was getting the ball,
Yeah.
and she got double teamed,
Right.
Right.
triple teamed.
I think. I mean, they have athletes. That's the thing. I mean, South Carolina has athletes. I think UConn has some athletes too. I think before it with Stephanie Dolson, or like people didn't realize what an athlete she was. It was more of that big girl. Can she run the floor? She did. But now you have a lot of.
Thanks to insanity.
That's right, insanity and going crazy. But you have a lot of there's big kids that can get up and down the floor easily for UConn. So not necessarily size. They have the
Well,
big
you bring that
size
up. Talk
down
a
low.
little bit,
But
but what we expect from Butler this year?
I think
That's a good
because
question.
Yeah, I think
I
because
got to
she's
tell
had
you,
a
she
full
was
year.
a huge person standing underneath
Yeah.
that basket at every.
Now-
I haven't
20
seen her
pounds
this year in
already.
She's
play.
transformed her body big time, very
Yeah.
much like the way
Yeah, but she's had a
Stephanie
whole
did.
year. I mean, she played a great year at Georgetown. She had that 1 year of college experience. But when you're training with UConn in all the practices and everything, you had a full year, and she seems very eager.
She
and
seems to be in love with the
Yes,
program. Everything
absolutely.
that she says.
So I think
Just a
she's
lot's going to
into
be
it.
with confidence.
Yeah.
So it'll be, but I think she'll have games early on. She'll be able to get those jitters
she
out
start?
and produce.
That's a good question. I'm going to be interested to see who the
Yeah.
fifth starter will be
I'm
this
curious,
season.
too.
going to be?
Who? I'd be very interested to see what they look
and then
like.
Mariah and Nurse in the back.
Well, we know that'll be, and we
Yeah.
know
Got the 1,
Stewie will be up front with Morgan. But who the fifth one is, I don't know.
Who's becoming odd player out? That Miss Chong?
Maybe Courtney.
Got to hit a three,
Yeah.
right?
Courtney.
Brought her here to hit threes.
I'm wondering if Courtney skipping her last year of high school playing basketball really hurt her. Just that
Disappointing last year.
competitive. Well, she got hurt.
Yep. Heard early.
Not the quickest.
I think it's that athleticism again. I think guarding matchups. Now, there's going to be certain teams that she'll be all right with, and then you're going to see with Maryland or a Notre Dame team with speed and guards that is tough in that matchup.
Isn't that a lot with Gabby, who showed a lot at certain games last
Yeah.
year? She's got
Oh,
amazing athleticism.
I
Somebody-
loved watching her. It was like poetry
she's
in
got
motion.
great
I mean,
legs. She's
every
got
time she
great
caught the
legs,
ball.
and she gets up off the floor.
I
And
mean, she
Something
was a
good
guard in
happened.
high school.
yeah.
But the way she played down in the
Sure.
post and everything, I mean, she got that ball up on the rim every time. It was exciting to watch her. Something
Well,
good
let's
was
hope
always
that
gonna
translates in the big games this year, because the big games she didn't really play a whole heck of a lot.
Right.
happen. And that was Gino's choice a lot
Right,
of times.
right,
So
sure, sure.
and that was
in
more
between.
of.
She's got that forward. She
Yeah.
likes to play under, and at 5'11", but she's got.
But she's
got
explosive.
great ups.
She's explosive.
What about Katie Lou?
That's a good question.
I go
I'll
by
be
what I've
interested to see
heard so
how the
far.
freshmen fit in.
Yeah.
I mean, the kid from St. Louis, is that the Boykin kid? No, that's Collier. Collier's the one
Collier.
from Missouri.
Yep.
That one they're all very excited about.
Yeah, they
They're
are.
very-
They rave about her. They say she's quite the baller. I'm going to be interested to see how Katie Lou fits in. From what the boss says, she doesn't play a lick of defense right now. But hey, who does coming out
And
of
he's
high
good.
school?
And he's going to
Really,
use
that's
that
typical
right now to
freshman.
motivate
He
her.
needs
But
it,
if she's anything like her predecessor from Matter Day in California, they'll be okay.
Yeah, and he seems to be. I mean, he's given her a hard time, and I think that's going to be his little needle to prod her along a little bit. But he seems to be
Always a learning experience.
very optimistic about.
Well,
her
that's the great thing
contribution
about
as
this
well.
program, and that's why the championships don't get old. It's always new for someone.
Right.
And I think, like you were talking about earlier, if you're diving on the floor up by 50, you don't see other teams doing that. That is,
Right.
to most people, it's like, well, why take a chance of getting hurt? And you're right. You're going to need that in a Final Four. You're going to need that in the final.
And he
game.
wants that second five playing just as well and just as sharp as the first
Right.
five. There's a couple games last year, as we can call, especially the Memphis game, when he pretty much benched, the starters or a majority
out
of them.
there, yes.
And that was
just
one of
before
those.
South Carolina.
Right, and he was sending a message loud and clear that yes, we're winning this game. But what he saw,
You're playing bad.
playing bad, and sometimes it's like he would blend in two or three of the bench in with the starters, and it would be a mismatch and the flow had gone through, and that wasn't acceptable. Like,
Right.
out. We can't. I'm not going to sit here and watch that. So you can say, oh, I'm like the 11th player. You are still expected to play like you're the number one player.
Yeah, and I think it's a big year. You mentioned Sanaya. I think it is a big year for Sanaya.
Yeah.
She took good steps in a positive direction to a certain extent last season,
Yep.
but now she's got to take that extra step if she's going to compete for playing time.
Yeah, I think the two guards are gonna. It's a heavy.
A lot of competition there.
Competition.
Where's Stewie going to go down as in her final?
You win 4 championships.
You win 4. Yeah, you're right up there.
4.
You're right up there in Dianaville.
That's pretty impressive numbers. I mean, I think you always say when they say that about Jordan and Kobe Bryant, whoever. It's like it's the rings. How many championships they won, and I mean, I think you shouldn't be judged just on your championships, but it's hard to argue if you can win 4 titles.
Right. And what's always astounded both Rick and I, and you guys have been in it a lot longer, is how well spoken, how polite, how appropriate all these kids are. I mean, the other day we were up at media a couple of weeks ago with the women, and I just said to Rihanna, I said, "Welcome back." She said, "Thank you very much." Yeah. Now, this is a big time college kid and the rest, but a lot of times they could.
She's just
care less.
happy-go-lucky. Stewie's just.
She really is,
Yeah.
and so many of them are.
She's like one of those aw shucks kids.
Yeah.
She is.
Oh, it sucks. I'm going to beat you by 50. All right, go, Mr. Joyce.
She is, yeah.
We have about 10 or 12 minutes left here.
Is that all?
We go fast in the hour.
Time flies when you're having fun.
We already answered this one.
We did.
Yes.
All right, get ready.
Let's do another one.
What do you got? Doubles?
Double.
No, it wasn't. It
We have
wasn't a
15
topic.
minutes
It
left.
was a
All
topic.
right.
Best all-time center. Debbie was. Yeah, just lost your mic.
Microphone out.
Just lost your
Production done. Oh, everything's falling apart.
All right, that was my mistake. That was my mistake.
You played
Best center.
too, Deb. Nice job.
I was just going to show you
There you go. Doesn't tell you where
I
the ball was
think-
going, but
I think you might have to put Tina at the top of that list. Production. Now, look, granted, a ton of rebounds are her own.
Yep.
CD. No, that's CD. CD said that a lot. But from where I would say you could make a case for her.
List
Tina?
List a couple that like the top. Let's do top.
Well,
three.
let's see. You got.
Top three.
Well, let's go backwards. You got
Yeah,
Steph.
that's one.
Yeah.
You got Tina. 2 31s back to back that are
All
both
right.
up on the Huskies of Honor. I don't really know if I'd call Rebecca the center
that's
because
where
at the
you
time
would
she
put
had
her.
Kara.
It was like
Yeah.
a 4 or 5.
She would play 5. I get. She had-
Kara came a long way from freshman year. She worked her tail off. That's the epitome of a UConn player. She turned herself into an All-American and a Player of the Year.
Get better as time goes on.
32.
Not a
again.
great
Was it
rebounder
32
though.
against Stanford?
She wasn't.
right. Yeah,
she wasn't
good
a
memory.
dominating rebounder though.
No,
but
no.
you get her the ball in the post as we used to call her the black hole because the ball always went into the post, never came back out.
Hey, as long as you put it in.
Yeah, right.
That's right.
That's
And
right.
she did. She was a 2,000-point scorer, so she did okay.
And who's got the all-time record for blocks in a championship game?
Well,
That'd be Kelly Schumacher.
That's right.
Stewie.
And where would you put
Talk
Stokes?
about a player that comes right
Where
in
would you
there.
put Stokes on inside game? Obviously, the best shot blocker in school
Well,
history.
defense and rebounding, you put her pretty up high there, but not the complete package from a scoring standpoint.
Right.
I mean, there were some days in the post you get the ball and it should be an easy 2, and you're going, "What was that?"
Jeez, we didn't even name Stephanie, and she had a pretty decent career.
Stephanie had a
Right.
great.
Stephanie's in there.
Stephanie's
did.
up there.
Yep.
Yeah.
You have to. And
All right.
Doing her hair.
I mean, it's tough. I mean, forget a starting 5 all time. You got to do at least
Oh,
do
yeah.
10.
Yeah.
yeah.
True.
Yeah.
Is there another compliment in here for Deb, do you think?
I'm hoping so. What if you
Hey,
got to go?
I pay you.
I
Go for the
just did
secret here.
I just
Yeah.
had to pick on her, but hey, she took
Wow.
it. She took it in style, though.
All right, no, darn, it's not about me.
Not always.
Where does Stewie rank amongst all-time greats?
All right, we did that, so you got to do another one.
All
there
right.
you go.
All right, we
I
did
have
that.
still a hope for one more.
I hope there's another.
Okay.
It's a write-in vote.
What's it like working with Bob?
Oh, this one, a favorite baseball team, but I can tell I'm not going to be. You're not going to like my answer.
She likes that other New York team.
I like the
Yankees.
Yankees. I'm a
Okay.
Yankee fan.
The Cosmos?
Yankees.
The Cosmos, yeah.
Yankees.
The Cosmos play at Hofstra.
Hey, since we made it to the wild card, that counts as making the playoffs.
That's
Yeah,
right.
it does.
You did.
Joe
You did.
Girardi did a good job.
Didn't
did.
for the
You
most
know
part.
what?
He got-
Because
yeah,
they
he did.
really
Didn't have
yeah.
a lot to work with, and he
Exactly.
did. Yeah.
So there
I
you
actually
go.
I used to follow the Cosmos when they used to play down at Giant Stadium way back in the day.
Pelé.
That was in the '70s with Pelé.
Pelé.
All right, you, Mr. Joyce.
I'm a Red Sox fan, by the way.
All right, we still invite
Yankees,
John.
Been
Yankees.
agonizing.
Sweet
Carolina. That's Mrs. Wilson's song.
Ba, ba, ba.
I think we already covered this.
Okay, there we go.
What you put doubles
Covering,
in
no,
there?
No, I think
we've
it's
just
just
been
the stuff
covering
in
the
covering
topics,
that topics.
because we're just all over the map
That's
here.
right.
Best rival game called.
Oh, that's got to be a good one.
Pick a Notre Dame game.
For me, it is because in the time that I've been here, the year, all 3 games, well, it was 4 Notre Dame games, but triple overtime.
What was it, 2013?
Triple overtime?
Yes, that game in South Bend was pretty wild. It
was. For me, that was even the one at Gamble, which was double overtime.
One of my favorites was the Georgia game in 2006 when
Roundtree? No.
Barbara Turner hit the 3 right in front of us from the right with time winding down, and then Tasha Humphrey almost hit a 3-quarter court shot at the buzzer. It was back and forth the whole way. Andy Landers had, I think, 6 healthy bodies. They just said, let's see if we can outscore them. They almost did. But that was a terrific back and forth game.
Any of your Tennessee games?
No. I mean, there were some good ones. Never came down to the end. I mean, one thing that I have, close games and doing, me doing UConn games.
2002? 2001, 2002?
2001, 2002 was my first year.
Okay.
Yeah.
So since then, not a whole bunch of stuff.
No, I'm going with the Notre Dame games, the triple overtime.
The Notre Dame games, just for the pure
fun.
drama.
Yeah.
The first 3 games of 2013, because they were just close in the way UConn found different ways to lose.
And the place was electric.
Yeah.
The place was really going
crazy. Go back to Stanford.
Ooh.
Stanford was pretty good.
Which,
I really thought they played so bad for them, and they were still in position to win the game. I really thought they were still going to win.
Does Tara have anything this year? Well, Tara's always got something.
Well, they're not playing.
I know they're not, but when you look at the national picture, they're usually.
I have to wonder because with Stanford not being on the schedule, and I don't think they're on next year either.
Okay.
I mean, they were supposed to, but I think the series is over. I'm not sure if the Samuelson kids have anything to do with that.
I think there might be something.
I wonder if there's something to do with that. They don't want to have to play one another.
Rumor through the grapevine saying that she was a little upset that this one didn't come.
Well, it's not her. It's too bad for Tara.
Right.
You know what it's like. You get Gino and Daly in the house, it's all over.
Go.
I'm going there.
Well, funny, today Numike didn't end up at UConn.
Gino can talk into anything.
Way back, I'm not sure how big Tara was on Rebecca when Rebecca was here. There was some things said there at that time,
I agree.
too.
Well, there were some things said when UConn got to the Final Four.
Yeah.
Of course.
And then Carol went off for, 33, 31? Something like that.
I think Tara has evolved a long time through the years of basketball, and I just when we played out at Stanford my freshman year there, and they were at the time, that was Jennifer Azey was like the big time best player, Olympic player, and they were
back or 2 and 3 years.
Yeah, they were. That Stanford was the premier then, and going out there again, and we didn't know any better. So the first half we kept winning for 20. We just played and didn't know. We were too ignorance is bliss when you go that way. But I'm saying in that time, I think Rebecca Lobo, I remember just saying about her experience on the Olympic team, and Tara was the coach, and just different relationships that she had with her players, like with Azey, that they respected her, but it was just a little different. Didn't have that feel that I think Gino has with his players since then, and I think in the years since, she seems to have a little bit more personality, and it's come a long way. I even think Gino has a little more. I think they have a good respect for each other and have come a long way too in years since.
Game day prep for you. When does it start? Take me through a day of a UConn women's game.
When does game day prep start? Well, it all depends on how far apart the games are. As a matter of fact, just for ha-has, I did my first game chart for the first exhibition game, because all I'm putting is the stats from last year and maybe some little tidbits. But let's say 3 games in 3 days. Starts the morning of a game. Fill out all my charts. Write little notes in my stat sheets. But usually a day or two before, depending on how many games, what the separation is.
The flow is.
Yeah.
Okay. And it gets a little bit dicey there for you. You're traveling a lot, right? I mean, you guys are all over the place.
Sometimes I'm filling out my charts on the plane.
Have
have
you
my
go
stats
with
with
the
me.
team?
Sometimes yes, sometimes no.
Okay.
It all depends on the size of the plane and how big, how many kids are on the. Like last year, we were only supposed to do 3 the whole season, and once we got in the conference play every week, Debbie and I are getting emails from Sarah Dara saying, "Hey, we got room on the plane. Want to go?" It's like, no.
Never turned it down. There's something to be said for charter planes.
It's like, let's go.
There's something to be said for that.
Yeah.
All right, pick another one, Bob.
Another one?
Get on in there. We're going to use most of them tonight.
No, we're running out of time. What city had your favorite food?
Yeah, because, well, I think Torrington did now because we're giving a lot of love.
Right,
well,
so I'm thinking it wasn't a bad spread tonight,
Cincinnati,
right?
usually we go to the Montgomery Inn for barbecue.
Okay.
Debbie likes Debbie liked that the couple
I
times
did. That
we've
was
been
first
there.
time there. Yep.
Chicago's usually pretty good. Chicago's my favorite city to travel.
Okay.
Even though it's in wintertime, but it's just a great city to walk around because you usually stay downtown. That won't be the case this year because of our radiology convention where hotel rooms are $300 plus.
Gotta get that radiology.
But usually Chicago is mine.
Excellent.
Even Stanford is pretty good. Good Chinese place. You remember
Oh,
the
Do you
Chinese
that's
have
right,
a
place
lot
we
of
went to?
time or just a little time?
It depends. It depends on what we're doing traveling wise. I mean, the West Coast trip we were on our own traveling.
Yeah.
So we got some time to kill.
I get once in a while. I get some lucky dinners with Gino, and
Yeah.
he takes me some of these fancy steakhouses.
Oh, yeah.
They've been
There
my
you
favorite at
go.
certain
Yeah.
places.
Twist your
And I-
arm.
She's part of the
Yeah.
family, so she gets to go. I was like,
Once
fun.
in a while, some of those,
Brings
kinda-
Bob
get
home
it.
a doggy bag.
Yeah.
What is that about? What do you got?
This is a good one.
Okay.
I don't have the answer. I don't know.
Okay.
When does Gino retire?
Yeah.
Well, as long as he keeps getting players like Stewie, never.
But you know what? He doesn't seem to lose that hunger either.
No.
So
I think before when the contract was up, and he obviously they wanted him back, and he said his wife, it's Kathy telling him, just sign the contract. What are you going to do? And he's like, well, I want to think about it. But he had all intentions of coming back. But he said, I just like to evaluate. So I don't know what that answer
Hey,
is.
now his 3 grandkids.
Yeah.
Jenna and Todd just had another
Yeah.
grandson this past week.
hey, real quick before you guys get out of here, he made little noise last week.
Little news this week.
last week. With
Yeah,
his comment
gotta
about
get
the
something.
fans.
Gino being Gino.
Yeah. I guess it's something I heard everybody talking about it because I hadn't heard about it firsthand. And then I thought, well, I have to start reading because what is everybody saying? Because it's stuff that we've already heard. That was nothing new that
Right.
he's been saying with fans. And I have friends, I have colleagues, I have coaches that say the exact same thing. They don't feel like watching because it's that big of a
You read
of a thing.
most of the editorials. Roger wrote one for the Republican. Jeff wrote 45 inches
Yeah.
for the current.
Yeah.
But they all said the same thing. Same thing you
Yeah.
said. It's what everybody's been saying. They
Saying,
just didn't.
yeah.
I think the goddamn
Right.
word was.
Yeah.
was the-
Yeah.
You know, even Ward was quoted, and I think Jeff's article about saying at some point I'll sit down with Gino and talk
Right.
to him about his use of language. But
And that probably wasn't the key, but I think it's sometimes he's still just trying to say it's a great product out there. What else is more pure than this? Come out and see it
well, you're
and
damned if
support
you do.
it.
You know,
Right.
like he said,
victim
if
of your
you-
own success.
If you don't win big, or you have the tough game against Stanford, they wonder what the heck's wrong with
Everything's
you.
falling apart.
Yeah.
Well,
The earth is going to end.
You know, they're allowed to
Right.
lose.
yeah.
Wait, I want it
I'm
close,
not
but
around
you have to
here.
win by
Not
9.
around here,
Wait,
but-
I want it close, but you have to win by 10.
You know, I hate to
Something
say
like
this,
that.
but this ridiculous run's about to end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It can't go on.
It's
No.
amazing.
Well,
It's
the fact
amazing
that
what
we've been to
they have
8
done.
straight Final Fours, come on.
And he said that last year. I mean, he said it's not going to last forever, and it's.
He's begging teams to get their act together to
Well, even
compete.
Brenda Fries and a bunch of them said it's not his job to get worse; it's our job to start getting up to
And
the
he's-
level
and they're
where
right.
he is.
And
US
you know what?
USF
Through the
gave him
years,
some trouble
through
last
the
year,
years,
right?
yeah,
Yeah, that'll be fun.
USF
Those could be
came back
decent
a little
games
bit.
this
I
year.
think through the years, there's been teams that have been better, and I use Duke as an example. On paper, they should have been winning championships when UConn was winning over them, and a lot of that was the coaching. So as much as, and he'll be the first to tell you, you need players to win those championships, but you also need a good coach, and he's been able to get the littlest to the most out of players that, yes, he has the All-Americans, but he has a lot of players come through that people passed on.
They got waiters down there too at Duke.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, listen, we're about 2 minutes away from the fastest hour in television now. We want to thank Bob Joyce and Debbie Fiske from UConn for coming on with us. And we truly do appreciate the friendships that we've made statewide now with our little LCS company here, the little company that keeps going forward. Yeah, that's right. Little train that can come right out of Thomaston and Torrington.
Well, and these took these guys an hour to drive up with their busy schedules.
Very dedicated.
And I was telling both of them that when Mike DeMoro came up a couple of weeks ago from New London, so we thank you guys for coming up. And Debbie's got the new job. Where
Yeah.
at Kingswood, Oxford.
Kingswood, Oxford. Give
New
out
gig.
to Wyverns. Go Wyverns.
So.
Rick, do you sleep with that football? I mean,
No, you
you
know what?
the whole time.
It's actually mine.
He actually handed it to me when I sat
It's
down.
the football.
and I
like
just,
the football from the White House, it's the football for this show. You know what I mean?
have been
Well, at
tossing
least it's
it
got the
around.
right logo on it.
Well,
Well, it
I'm a
does.
Jet fan
You
too,
know.
but I didn't want to overdo it with
Ooh.
Mets and Jets
I'm
today.
sorry.
So, Mets and Jets and Nets. I only like
No,
four little words.
This won't even be here next week. I don't know.
We'll pop that thing. We got 1 minute left on the air. Mr. Wilson, closing thoughts. Really fast closing thoughts, which we really can't do. I'm going back to sunglasses.
I don't think I have anything. I think, second week in a row we've had this much fun, and, these guys who make it really a lot of fun, and give me the loaded question over here. That was really good. Best point guard.
You passed with flying colors.
Good luck to your Mets tonight. And,
Thank you. Something's happening right now as we speak. So
you're not watching wrestling tonight?
I'm trying to watch my entire. It's out. All right, that's it here from Litchfield. Thanks everybody at Cablevision for taking care of us tonight as we get ready to go off the air. The guys behind the back room, they're giving me the countdown. I think it's 10, 9, 8, 7 something. I think we are good. We're pushing the volume up. Do we have to sing, Rick? Sweet Caroline.
Please don't.
Hush. I just said that.
We're out, boys and girls. Thank you.
We're out.
With the end. How good is that?